Welcome. I'm truly glad you're here today. There's something very real, very human, and very misunderstood about the topic we're about to explore. If you've ever wondered how staying single for a long time quietly reshapes a man, how it changes the way he thinks, feels, connects, and even protects himself, then this message is for you. Within the next few minutes, you may begin to understand behaviors that once felt confusing. If you're new here, take a moment to subscribe to Psychology Wave and turn on notifications, because these insights are designed to guide you, not just inform you. Before we go deeper, pause for a second and type in the comments, "I am aware" or "I choose clarity." This small action helps you engage your mind intentionally, because what we're about to discuss is not surface level. It's about patterns, psychology, and the hidden ways time alone can shape a person. And if you're ready to understand that, you're already moving differently. Also, take a moment to subscribe to Psychology Wave so you don't miss what comes next. The longer a man stays single, the more he begins to build a life that works perfectly without anyone else in it. First, it feels like freedom. He can make decisions without negotiation, spend his time however he wants, and move without emotional pressure. But slowly, this freedom becomes structure, and that structure becomes identity. Research from the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships shows that prolonged singlehood can significantly reshape attachment styles, especially when independence becomes deeply reinforced over time. This means it's not just about being single, it's about becoming someone who is used to not depending on anyone emotionally. If that already makes you reflect, take a second to like the video and subscribe to Psychology Wave for more insights like this. Over time, something subtle begins to happen. He starts to rely on himself not just for decisions, but for emotional regulation. Instead of talking things out, he processes internally. Instead of leaning on someone, he handles things alone. According to studies from the University of California, Davis, individuals who spend extended periods without close romantic bonds tend to develop stronger emotional self-reliance, but also reduced emotional openness. This creates a paradox. On one hand, he becomes stronger. On the other hand, he becomes harder to reach. Not because he doesn't feel, but because he has trained himself not to express those feelings outwardly. If you've ever encountered someone like this, or maybe even seen it in yourself, take a moment to subscribe to Psychology Wave and stay with this message. Now think about habits. The longer someone lives alone, the more fixed their routines become. He wakes up at a certain time, eats what he wants, spends his time exactly how he prefers. Over months and years, these patterns become deeply ingrained. Research from Oxford University explains that repeated behavior strengthens neural pathways, making habits increasingly resistant to change. So when a relationship enters the picture, it's not just about emotions, it's about disruption. Even positive change can feel uncomfortable when it challenges long-established routines. This is why some men hesitate, pull back, or seem distant when things start getting serious. If this is helping you understand something deeper, like the video and subscribe to Psychology Wave, there is also a shift in how he views connection. At the beginning of his single journey, he may desire companionship strongly. But over time, the urgency fades. Anthropologist Helen Fisher explains that romantic love is tied to specific brain systems, and when those systems are not regularly activated, their intensity can decrease. This doesn't mean he stops wanting love. It means love becomes less central to his daily experience. It moves from a need to an option, and when something becomes optional, the effort to pursue it often decreases. If you're starting to see how this works, take a moment to subscribe to Psychology Wave and share this with someone who needs this clarity. Another important shift is in expectations. A man who has been single for a long time often becomes more selective. Not necessarily more demanding, but more aware of what he will and won't tolerate. This can be a positive thing, but it can also make connection harder. Dr. John Gottman once said, "Successful relationships are built on mutual understanding and the ability to accept influence." But if someone has spent years operating independently, accepting influence from another person can feel unfamiliar, even uncomfortable. If this resonates, like the video and subscribe to Psychology Wave to go deeper into this understanding. There is also a protective layer that develops. Over time, being single reduces exposure to emotional pain. There are no arguments, no misunderstandings, no heartbreak. And slowly, the mind begins to associate relationships with risk instead of reward. The Kinsey Institute has found that emotional avoidance can increase when individuals prioritize self-protection after long periods of independence. This doesn't mean they are incapable of love. It means they have learned to protect themselves from vulnerability. If this insight is valuable, support the channel by subscribing and sharing the video. Let me tell you a story that brings all of this together. There was a man who had been single for years. At first, it wasn't intentional. Life just moved, and relationships didn't work out. Over time, he built a life that felt stable, predictable, and safe. He didn't realize it, but he had created a world where he didn't need anyone else to feel okay. Then one day, he met someone who challenged that system. She didn't force anything, but her presence made him feel something he hadn't felt in a long time. At first, he was drawn in. But as the connection deepened, something unexpected happened. He started pulling back, not because he didn't care, but because he didn't know how to integrate someone into a life that had been built for one. If this story feels familiar, take a moment to subscribe to Psychology Wave. He began questioning everything. Why did this feel uncomfortable? Why did something good feel so complicated? The answer wasn't about her, it was about him. His habits, his emotional patterns, his independence. He realized that being single for so long had shaped him in ways he never noticed. According to cognitive psychology, the brain creates consistency between behavior and belief. So if someone has lived independently for years, their mind begins to justify that lifestyle as the best option. This is why change feels difficult. It challenges both habit and belief at the same time. If this is helping you connect the dots, like the video and subscribe to Psychology Wave. In the end, the man had to make a decision. Stay in the comfort of what he knew, or step into the discomfort of growth. Because that's what relationships require: growth, adjustment, vulnerability. And growth is never easy, especially when you've been comfortable for a long time. So what does this story teach us? First, awareness is everything. When you understand how time alone shapes behavior, you stop taking things personally. You begin to see patterns instead of problems. If you're gaining clarity, subscribe to Psychology Wave and stay connected. Second, independence is powerful, but it must be balanced with openness. Strength without connection can become isolation, and isolation over time can limit emotional growth. If this lesson speaks to you, like the video and share it with someone who needs it. Third, change requires intention. No one accidentally becomes open after years of independence. It takes conscious effort to break patterns, to communicate, to allow someone into your space. And that effort must be consistent. If you agree, take a moment to subscribe to Psychology Wave. Fourth, understanding creates patience. When you understand why someone behaves a certain way, you respond differently. You become less reactive and more thoughtful. And that changes everything in relationships. If this insight matters to you, like the video and subscribe to Psychology Wave. As we come to the end of this message, I want you to reflect on this deeply. Whether you are the one who has been single for a long time, or you are trying to understand someone who has, the key is awareness, patience, and clarity. Nothing about these patterns is permanent, but they do require understanding to change. Before you leave, type in the comments, aware and empowered, or clarity and confidence. Let that be your declaration that you are choosing to understand, not assume. And don't forget to subscribe to Psychology Wave, like this video, and share it with someone who needs this message today.